All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to this month's IDMS Community webcast. Before I hand you off to the team, just a couple things I need to go over. First, a few questions along the way, and we always hope that you do. Please do put them in the questions box on the right-hand side of your screen, right under the GoToWebinar control panel. Ask them there. We'll get through as many of those as we can during our time together today. If for some reason we run out of time or something requires some research, I'll make sure everything is captured, and I'll make sure that the team gets everything so they can follow up with you. We are recording the session. That's why your lines are all muted. The replay will probably be available sometime tomorrow morning out in the IDMS community. So you can point folks in friends and colleagues there if they want to see it. And the last thing from me is that we always want to make sure that these sessions are valuable and that you're getting the information that you expect to get. So with that in mind, I pulled together a survey that's going to pop up at the end. If you could stick around and give us 30 seconds of time just to give us a little bit of feedback, I know everyone will really appreciate it. That's it for me. So I'm going to hand you off to Rajesh, who's going to kick us off today. Take it away.
Hey, thank you, Glenn. Good day, everyone. Welcome to our monthly community update. Thanks for taking time to attend this call. Your participation and feedback is very important to us. My name is Rajesh Mandava. I'm the product owner for IDMS. Sheila Miller is our product manager. She is on vacation, so unable to join us today. Last two monthly community update meetings, we reviewed a select number of ideas that were posted to the communities with you and conducted live voting. The intent was to listen and learn directly from you regarding your requests, concerns, and points of view. Overall feedback was very positive, and thank you all for your participation. Today, our engineering team will provide a high-level overview of IDMS Visual DBA, and we'll poll our customers to gauge the level of usage of this tool. These conversations will help us better understand how you are leveraging the tool and its capabilities, and as we continue to shape the future of IDMS overall. A gentle note to my Broadcom colleagues, please refrain from participating in the polls. Let me take this opportunity now to introduce my other panelists. With me, I have two senior members of our engineering team, Ken Grant and Dave Dillon, to lead the presentation. I'm also joined by Carla Pereira, an IDMS technical team lead. She will help us with any functionality discussions of the Visual DBA tool. With that, I hand over to Ken. Ken, all yours.
Okay, well, thank you, Rajesh. So the title of this session is IDMS Visual DBA. This is going to be a quick overview, and the very important part is we really want your feedback. Dave Dillon will join as necessary to add additional information. So we, of course, have our standard disclaimer. So what is our agenda? Well, let's talk about what IDMS Visual DBA is. We'll take a quick look at it. What can you do with it, right? That's the important part. Security is always an important discussion. We'll even do a very quick demonstration of the product, and we'll have question and answers at the end. Okay, so what is VDBA? I'm sorry, if I say VDBA, that's how we often refer to it. It's IDMS Visual DBA. If I slip, I do apologize. What is IDMS VDBA? Visual DBA? It's a GUI-based tool that makes administering, monitoring, learning, and using IDMS easy. It's a Windows-based application. And let's take a look at some of the things you can do with this. So what does it look like? Well, it's really divided, the workspace environment is really divided into three windows. On the far left, you have the nodes window. When you start VDBA, this is the only window that you will see. We'll see that during the demo. It only lists IDMS data sources. These are ODBC data sources, by the way. So you have to install the IDMS server ODBC driver in order to use IDMS Visual VDBA. So it only shows the IDMS data sources. So if you have one that's for SQL server or something like that, it's not going to appear. We list all the IDMS data sources that you have on your system. So you got to make sure that the data source you pick actually goes to a dictionary where the IDMS Visual DBA table procedures are installed. That's how it works. If you don't, and you go to another data source, you'll just get an error. You'll figure it out very quickly. In the center is the database object manager, often just simply referred to as the DOM. And these are the IDMS objects that can be viewed and, where appropriate, updated. On the far right is the detail information pane, or the DIP. So it will display additional information associated with the object that you select in the Database Object Manager window. Information is displayed in several formats, including raw data, graphics, and forms. We also have command consoles that allow you to execute against the IDMS compilers and DCMT, DCUF commands. You can do SQL through this. There are other components of IDMS Visual DBA, such as the SQL wizard and preferences, that will not be covered in this presentation. So here's the big question. What can you do with it? You can do a lot. You can analyze and manage database system and security definitions, analyze and manage CV execution and operations, access multiple CVs concurrently, execute online utilities, search the IDMS DC log, manage IDD modules, submit scripts, and create and execute SQL statements. Look, we understand that as DBAs, you are probably managing multiple DBMSs. As you can see from the list of the capabilities, though, IDMS VDBA simplifies the management of IDMS through a comprehensive, easy-to-use GUI. You do not need to memorize IDMS commands or create JCL. IDMS Visual DBA does that for you. And best of all, IDMS Visual DBA comes standard with IDMS. Okay. So let's take a quick example of IDMS Visual DBA versus actually doing the commands on IDMS itself. So on the right is IDMS, is the IDMS system, and this would be a DCMT command to view the OLQ QNote queue. So first of all, you have to know the syntax of the command to do this, right? You have to know the object that you want to look at. You have to type it in. You have to type it in right. If you're like me, about every 10 or 12 times I type DCMT, it comes out DMCT. You know, small typo, and you'll end up retyping it or at least fixing it. But if you look at Visual DBA, it's 3 clicks, right? I can just expand, and here I would, if I had more than one active queue or more than one component, such as down here under the storage, I list them all. I can just click. So if I want to check one, it's easy. But what if I want to check multiple? It's just as easy, because all you're doing is clicking. You do not need to know the commands, the DCMT commands at all. So configuration analysis. What are the system settings, right? So here I'm showing the CV system statement. So this is basically, well, if you went into sysgen and did a display system, this is the output that you would get. But notice what you don't have to do. You don't have to go into sysgen. You do not have to connect. You do not have to set currency and then issue the right command. It's all done under the covers for you by IDMS Visual DBA. Okay. Here's another example where we're just looking at the configuration for the add C task. You can see all the information that it will get. I mean, it's not a very active system. This is a demo system, so some of these numbers will be small. I mean, you will also need to monitor the database activity. And so here's an example of looking at the area definitions. And just to be clear, this is not an SQL only tool by any stretch. You do get access to your network database. And this is just an example showing you how you can find the elements in a record just with a few clicks. So Len, here is our first poll. Do you use Visual DBA to analyze your system configuration?
All right, thanks, Ken. I have launched it. As those of you who have been coming to these sessions know, it takes a few seconds for it to get out to everybody. But it is in the process of distributing right now. And the voting has started. We'll give everyone a few seconds. All right, votes are still coming in, so we'll wait another 10 seconds or so. We really appreciate your feedback on these. Let's do a 5-second warning. All right, thank you very much, everybody.
Okay. Oh, it works, so it must be done. So you can also do operation and execution analysis, right? You want to know how your system is running. We looked at the configuration. Now let's see how it's running in comparison. Right? So one of the things you can do is you can monitor space utilization. So in this example, we're taking a look at the space report for your TMCL, and it breaks down so you get these nice graphics. So you can also run a print index report, in which you would just select your various segments and subschemas and all of that, and then you can create view, and here it is. And so that's kind of nice. You can just do it very quickly and repeatedly. We can monitor your runtime access, see how things are really going. So you can see that in this case, we're finding 9,316 records or objects and with only 200 reads. So it looks pretty good. Okay. We can also monitor your reentrant pool usage, for example. In this case, you'll see like 75% of it is used, a little under 25% is not, yet you might want to keep an eye on this and make some adjustments. Okay. And this is just an example of what happens in several places within the product. But in this case, we can look at the activity for the user ID, and this would be Cal for those who worked with Cal. On the system, you will find and it goes out and it will search the IDMS DC log and filter out to the specific data that you are requesting. You will find that this kind of dialogue exists in multiple places within IDMS Visual DBA. Okay. You can also monitor your journal status, which is a good thing. So this would be the equivalent of doing a DCMT display journals for those who are familiar with the DCMT commands. But again, you don't need to know that. I'm just letting you know. You can also monitor your zip time and CPU effectiveness for zip. This is, again, not a heavily used system, so there's not a lot to report. It's mostly to show you that you can do this. So already we're on to poll number 2. Do you use Visual DBA to monitor your system and database execution?
All right, folks, I've launched this one, and it is distributing. Needs to be taking a little bit longer today than usual. Oh, okay, folks are starting to vote. Votes are still coming in. Looks like the voting has slowed, so let's say another 10 seconds. All right, thanks very much, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. All right, so we've examined our configuration. We've seen how it's running. You may need to change your system definitions. So this is how you do it. And there are 2 ways. You can make permanent changes. And in this case, this a little hard to tell from this slide, but what you would actually end up doing is you would be doing an alter to your sysgen settings, and then you would set it as generate, so that these would take place the next time you cycled your CV. This is an interesting aspect of the tool to me. So as I mentioned before, you can connect to multiple CVs. In this case, we're connected to 2 different CVs. And if I want to copy an object from one CV to another, I can drag and drop it into from, say, the bottom CV to the top CV. And if you have child objects, it will prompt you for that. So it's an interesting feature. Okay. So how do you change the runtime system? I mean, it's different from changing the permanent, because you'd have to recycle, but you gotta sometimes change it on the fly. And so if you look, it's in a different place, and we can actually just change the cushion, the threshold, etc. This would be the equivalent of doing a DCMT vary storage pool. Again, you don't need to know that, but that's what happens behind the scenes. Okay. A lot of polls. There's only one more poll after this. But do you use Visual DBA to make updates to your system?
All right, once again, distributing. Votes are starting to come in. All right, let's say another 5 seconds. All right, thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you, everyone. All right. So you don't have to know the commands, but what if you do, and you want to be able to do them quickly and repeatedly, and maybe tweak them a little bit along the ways instead of getting onto the mainframe? So you can use our command consoles. Okay. So in this example, we're doing a print page of 7,502, which is great. You could run this, then say you just needed to do another page. You could just very quickly change the number here, run it again, and you can very quickly do that, and you can get your output and do comparisons between them very easily. You can run SQL through here. I mean, this would be a nice place to, if you were trying to refine your SQL, or maybe you just wanted to look at something quickly. I mean, or you could just use it as a full SQL tool. It has those capabilities. Okay. This is the last poll, I promise. So do you use the Visual DBA command consoles?
All right, I have launched it. And voting has started. Let's say another 10 seconds. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. All right, let's talk about security for a minute. So IDMS Visual Database Administrator uses enhanced object security. This is available on the mainframe and the IDMS side. You can tailor this to a particular user and limit them to such things as the dictionary, the functionality, data objects. It's great on an individual user, but chances are you actually have multiple people that would fit a category. So you could create access profiles such as a DBA profile, developer profile, operator, etc. It's all well defined in the documentation. Okay, so now for the real fun, because it's one thing to see everything on a slide, but to me it's much more fun to do a demo. So let me just do one setting change here so I can see my notes, because there's a lot to cover and I don't want to miss anything. Let me bring up IDMS Visual DBA, which will probably, it opened in the other window. So this is what it looks like when it first comes up. As you can see, there's just a list of nodes. So here's all my nodes. I can tell you these are IDMS, and then I will show you that. So here's the Microsoft ODBC administrator. This is where you define your ODBC data sources. I like system data sources, so everybody on the system can use them, which is usually just me. But you can define user, which is only the individual user. What I want to point out is that I have a My64 data source name, and this is type SQL Server. You do not see that listed here because it is not an IDMS data source. I'll show you the data source I am going to connect to. So this is an on-demand system. So the dictionary where the IDMS Visual DBA table procedures are installed is AppleDict. And then on this page, it's how you're going to access it. So I'll be using TCP/IP, and that's my port number. So let me connect. So here's our list of IDMS database objects. So let's take a look at what you can get out of this. So we're going to go down. We'll look at AppleDict, tables. Let's go a little bit further and take a look at the system AM. So what you'll see is there are a number of ways of displaying the information. They can be tabs that go across. You can expand it and you can drill down from this list. You can just look at the raw properties and see the information here. And at this point, for those who are here, this is the first time I'm showing this, you can actually copy the information out of many of the tabs that are in the DIP. We had a session earlier where we showed how we enabled the copy functionality in the command consoles, and one of our customers said, "Hey, can you do that in the detailed pane?" And so the answer is yes, we did do this. And it's in many of these, not necessarily all, but I think most of the important ones, the raw. So if you right click, you can see the menu. I can do a select all, for example. And I can do a copy. And then let me just bring up Notepad. And I can paste that in. And you can see that it's saved as comma separated values. More likely you've seen that as CSV. Excuse me. So if I save this as something.csv, I can bring it up in Excel. This is all in text. I can put it into Word or any other document that you care to name. You can select just particular rows. So if you left click, you can't see this, but I could hold the control key and I could just whoops, let me try it again and I don't care about that one. All right, hey, copy. So, and again, so I can just select certain rows. These are standard Windows commands. If you click on the left mouse button and you hold the shift key, you can select the block. So that works with all the raw properties will work on rows. You can just see that. It will work on the DCMT log, the DC log. Sorry about that. It's on the DC log output and several other places. Okay, so that's our new feature, and that is available on the validation site. So let's take a look at something that's non-SQL. So we come down, we'll look at the non-SQL schema. I'm in the wrong place. Correction. I don't want that. This is what I want. And again, you can get everything as tabs. You can look at the areas, and most of this, you can't see it, but I can double click and drill down more, get more information. So lots of ways to see what's going on or how it's configured in this case. Okay. So I'm just trying to do at least one sample from each one of these. Again, it's not a system that's used a lot, so we tried to find some that would actually show you some data. So there may be things that would be of more use to you. But, so again, so we can just take a look at the DB names, and of course you can drill down. Let's take a look at the journals. Okay, so you can see I've got 4 journals on this, and I can take a look at the information related to them, page sizes, access method, etc. And then we come down to CV system, and let's take a look at our storage pool. I got 3 of them. This, not the XA storage pool, but let's say I do want to see the XA storage pool, right? So there's my XA storage pool information. Under activity, let's look at active task. So, you know, if I go to central version, again, journals, of course, are big. So let's go to the journal status. Let's see how we're doing. And I'm not a DBA, but this looks okay to me. We collapse that. Under DC, look at the subtasks information. And under statistics, we can look at area. So, and these are the ones with all the graphics. I can click on one piece of it, see the reads. I can click on another, find buffer, or if I click on the little label down here, I get both pieces of information at once. Okay. So on to the command consoles. Okay, so let's do some SQL. So first of all, I'm going to select my dictionary. And I can do a select, let's see, star from demo employee. We'll just run this. And by the way, just as a reminder, there's our copy feature. I'm now going to switch to doing a DCMT command. And I don't have to type DCMT in front of it. So let's see, display line. And that will open up a new tab. The old one is still there, so you haven't lost anything. So, okay, and that's it for the demo. Let me just go back to the slides for a moment. All right, so one of my degrees is in chemistry, so we always had to have resources, so I always do that. So here's a couple of links to the IDMS Visual DBA documentation. And here's a link to a video done by Cal about 4 years ago. It goes into more detail, a little different subject matter, but it's very good. I recommend it. Keeping you informed. So if you haven't heard by now, you'll hear it here. So the Broadcom Mainframe Technical Exchange is coming up. It's October 4th through 6th, and it's a really good opportunity. You can connect virtually with peers and mainframe technical experts, over 160 technical education, product update, and round table sessions. It's free. I mean, you can't beat the price. It's open to all Broadcom customers. So I would recommend you register as soon as you can. I have registered, and there's our IDMS specific sessions. I've registered for all of those. Hopefully you will too. And I think now it looks like is the time for questions, but are those all online, Len, or are they audible?
Yes, they're all online. Like I said at the beginning, folks, if you do have questions for Ken or anybody on the team, please put them in the questions box, and then I can go ahead and read those. At this point, we don't have any, but we'll give everyone a few seconds to type. And if you're typing something really long, you might want to even just type wait quickly in and hit enter so that we know to wait for you. Otherwise, I will also take this opportunity to remind you that we do have our post-event survey that will pop up when I close the event. We would really appreciate some feedback on today's webcast. And I don't see any questions coming in. So Ken, I guess you killed it. You did such a good job. There aren't any additional questions.
I still have 2 more slides, it looks like.
Oh, you do? All right. I thought we were done. My mistake.
No. These are added after I submitted. So additional question. You want to ask a question later? You have Dave Dillon's in my email in the first slide, and Sheila Miller, who I'm sure everybody knows, is the product manager, and Rajesh, who the product owner, who everybody is learning, but I think most people know Rajesh by now. And here's his contact information. And of course, thank you for attending, especially for answering the polls. It's valuable information to us. So thank you again. Feel free to reach out.
And actually, while you were doing that, we did have one question come in, so that's great.
Oh, sure.
Does Visual DBA support multi-factor authentication?
Not at this time, no.
All right. That's
that
the only
would be something to add to the ideation. And let's see how many other customers would like to see that.
Great idea. All right, that's the only question I see. I think we can go ahead and wrap up. Thanks everybody for your time today. We know there's a lot of virtual event stuff still going on. We appreciate you coming to ours. Ken, great job. Thank you very much. And we'll talk. Actually, I think we're going to take October off from this monthly session because of MTE, but we'll speak to you guys in November. But again, hopefully we'll see you at MTE. Have a great one, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.